Oh, well, now we can't see it. But we're on a mission. We're on a mission to prove the possibility of repurposing capitalism for the welfare of humanity over profit. Hi, it's Chuck. Welcome to 2022 with Tim and Chuck on Unencrypted.
Yes. I am okay. I wanted to get something. I had no idea what I was preparing for, but
okay. But you're prepared for it now?
Happy New Year.
Happy New Year.
Happy New Year. So tonight's going to be interesting because we're sort of in a interesting place from a perspective of sort of rebooting in a way.
Yes, 100%.
Yeah.
And it's funny because I actually was thinking about that. Like I wouldn't have used it's like starting again. I'm like, no, I want to stop thinking it's starting over. I want to stop thinking it's like, okay, shut the power. I want to stop being Windows, right? I want to stop being Microsoft and like no more blue screens of death. No more. Those things are things of the past. I don't need to shut down my computer and restart it for it to work. It's just like, no, it's already working. It's like let's
refresh on the browser once in a while.
How about more like this? We're already going down the drag strip. It's time to shift into higher gear.
Absolutely.
Okay, maybe the drag strip is we can bring that down a little bit. But I 100%.
No, it's like when you catch that, the power band on the old motorcycles or ATVs and stuff. You'd catch that power band and it'd whip you back a little bit. You can
I remember I had a cousin that brought one over, right? Because I had like just a little 75, whatever it was, Honda. And, it went over jumps just fine. And then he had one of the really cool ones. And he's like, oh, you want to drive it? I'm like, yeah. He's like, hey, just be cautious when the power band kicks in. It does a thing. I'm like, okay. Like, right over on my ass. Like, it just brought that front tire up and like, okay. But sometimes the power bands can put you on your butt.
Yes, absolutely. So you got to be careful. You got to keep them within control. But people who know how to utilize them correctly actually can use them in ways that are, they win races with them.
And if you think this is all really cryptic, it's really not. This is just how Tim and I think. We're like, we actually know what we're talking about, whether anybody else does or not.
Yeah.
That's kind of the funny thing.
We have for decades now.
What's that?
We have been doing that for decades.
So it's actually kind of interesting. Let's see, it's 7:05. We started a couple minutes late, but, Cheyenne, my wife, for anybody who tunes in, and, we were actually talking about whether or not I was sane. And we're like, no, we actually, no, I'm definitely sane. But, the way our minds work is just different.
Right.
And anyways, nothing to do with any of that. Welcome to Thursday Night Social. For those who have never tuned in before, again, I'm Chuck, this is Tim. This is Udicci's Unencrypted Thursday Night Social, a time when we kind of just get together. We talk about life, well-being, winning in the marketplace, blockchain, crypto, and our movement thing, platform, story, the legend of Ulysses. And that's what we do. And tonight, we're probably not going to have any guests tonight. And we are actually changing some formats and really for the entire year. So we'll be talking a little bit about the 2022 plans, much of which are, unencrypted, was at one point in time unscripted. And that was just us kind of saying we're going to get together, talk about whatever, and kind of use this time a little bit more wisely. So we don't have a major agenda tonight, but our theme for the night is the long game. And that's kind of, we've been kind of tracking with the Buffalo Bills this year, and everybody's talking about them being Super Bowl contenders, and then for a while it really didn't look like they were Super Bowl contenders. But, if you're playing for the long game, you keep the game going. You keep moving forward. You keep getting better. You become your best version of yourself. And, we're still saying we're going for the win. But we're kind of now to come back to what we were talking about. We're opening up the night on Unencrypted. The title of the episode is called Coin Toss, right? Which is just basically, again, not restarting the computer.
Right.
It's getting into the game you've already been prepared for. You're just sort of deciding what side of the field or whether you're going to receive the ball kind of thing.
Right.
So that's what we're we're going to defer. So that's kind of like how we're picking up this theme for 2022 is with Coin Toss. And then at 8 o'clock, we're going to switch over to Ceox, and it's kind of like I can't remember the name of it specifically. It's like in another league or in a new league. And that's the idea that, if you're talking about like people like the greatest of all time, a Tom Brady, even I saw a statistic and they were talking about like how great Roethlisberger was. But like, Brady just had some stats that are just in a league of his own. Right? Like when you get that good, you're in a league of your own. And we were going to finish with talking about abundance efficiency, which is once you really do something well, like the NFL has done and created this brand that really draws in a lot of attention, a lot of money, a lot of media, a lot of talk, a lot of mind space, right? And that's really what we're talking about. That people value is their mind space and their mind time, right? Like that's what we value, and we can oftentimes see that in how short we are with one another, where like I've got an idea going on in my head and you ask me a question and I get all annoyed because my mind was someplace else. So like they've created a brand that like owns a big space of at least America's collective mind space and around the globe.
Before we continue this conversation with respect to being mindful of time and stuff, I noticed that we have a slight issue going on with our live stream to Facebook. So before you go down this path,
I didn't start it.
Yeah,
I can't start it on my phone.
You can't start it on your phone?
No, and I forgot to bring my computer tonight. So
Oh,
I just did a Udicci.TV.
Okay.
So yeah, that's all it is. It's just I just told people to go watch it on Udicci.TV.
So I can stop this.
Yeah, stop. Go ahead and stop the Facebook one.
So we'll toggle that one off. Sorry, Facebook, you miss out tonight.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, exactly. Like I was like, I can't boot it off on. I might be able to. I couldn't.
We
could
log in over here.
All right, we could do that. So we're going to go ahead and take a break, and again, when we come back, what we just laid out is the big picture, but we're actually going to be talking about the practical steps that we're doing to kind of help become our best self and join, get into the big leagues and, who are the big leagues. And we're going to say right now that one of the players on the field that may not be respected often enough, kind of like the Buffalo Bills, is BSV. And we're going to talk about that when we get back.
Awesome.
We'll be gone for just a minute while we
try to fade this out.
Yeah, there we go.
Coming in 3, 2, 1.
And we are back. So we were talking that one of the things we're going to do tonight is we're going to actually use the unencrypted episode as the coin toss, right? Which is to get out on the field, and we've been prepared. We've played the game. We've been kind of doing this, right? Like we had, for people who are just tuning in, we had a studio before and a nearby kind of old abandoned factory, like they were trying to reno the factory, so that was cool. We have some other things that have done in the past, and we've talked about going further on that. But one of the things I was thinking about, and I said this to you just before we came on, is I almost feel like I've made this my approach in last year to this, I think, was more like how I felt about that. Like, you're almost there sometimes to perform, right?
Right.
And I don't know that I want to make it a performance, but I also don't mind that it's a stage.
Well, I think that there were certain times when we were at the Hungerford where it was a stage, but then there were other times where, there were some real conversations that went on. And so there was that really nice balance that we had. I caught up with one of the videos that I was looking at on a local drive. That was one of the ones that I opened up.
I'm just gonna take some notes from that.
Okay. But the one of the videos that I saw was actually when I was interviewing Chris Iverson and Jerice Crouch from the Razor Sharks. And we were talking about the programs that they worked with in the community and what they were doing for the community and how they were giving back. And, I think that there was so much, that was just one small example of the types of conversations we were having. But then on the same stage, so to speak, we had Soapbox.
Right.
Where we would have this, you would play off of the people, and it was just a good time. It was Friday night. It was all about the Friday night, the fourth Fridays or third Friday, whatever it was. And I think that there was a significant value in that because it was a lot of fun, especially for those people that were walking in. So having that kind of interface, that human interaction, and not knowing where it was going to go, the twists and turns of it really did become entertaining and a lot of fun to follow.
Yeah, I think that is something we need to really figure out here. And maybe what we should be looking at is how to bring that, the true social nature.
Yeah.
Right. I think what we did on Ceox last week was good. For what we were attempting to do,
sure.
Right? Have people come in, leave, it was good. But I felt like it was more directed than you'd want for a social.
Yeah. No,
right?
Yeah, I agree. I think that there was, one of the things that we used to be able to get when we were at Blue Bar and Grill was that social feel where we had a lot of people interacting and kind of coming in and off stage and having that ability. That was a lot of fun too.
Yeah.
Especially during Real Talk. And
so maybe that's what we need then is hey, I want to come on stage.
Yeah.
Right? Just kind of it's improv, right? So it's going to be improv yourself onto stage or something.
Right.
But we'll still need to improv yourself onto stage. Improv yourself onto stage. What if we did it something along the lines of improv yourself through chat, and have the audience put you on stage?
Oh, vote!
Yeah,
oh,
right.
Man.
Have the audience vote you on stage.
Oh, that would be fun. Huh.
Right.
That's a great little.
So we'll do something like that, right?
Yeah.
Maybe what we could do is.
We don't have to get too far into it because I actually there's some stuff that we already have in place that would play perfectly in line with what
do you know
on the platform.
Oh yeah. So
so just not to get too far into
no, but that's what we were talking about tonight, right? This is the coin toss. This is us getting out on the field, and this is making some choices for our 2022 game plan, right? And
right.
and what do we want that game plan to look like? And that's what I'm trying to connect with it. What I want I'm going to just finish a tweet real quick because I want to begin connecting with the BSV community. And so let me make that tweet, and I'm going to pick this up here if you want to kind of run for a moment.
Oh, all right. Well, hold on. Then let's we'll go to a break since it's 20 after, and we've been going to break every 10 minutes.
No,
or so?
don't get just keep
Okay.
going.
All right. So going back to, let's see, Hungerford Blue. Oh, here's something that okay. So something that I didn't have a chance to tell you before, but I did reach out to a realtor that I've been working with and discussed. You and I had talked about the potential of where there might be some immediate potential if we had some space in a certain area of town.
Yeah.
And
did you find some?
Not yet.
Okay.
But we're starting to look, and we kind of looked for something that maybe a crossover space or something along those lines, and not to kind of go too far with it, but we started talking about the space where I used to where I had my space for 1K. And she, this person and I talked about it, and she said there's probably a lot of opportunities like that in and around that area that we may want to consider. And I believe that probably is also accurate. So that to me, I think was there's probably some good opportunities even if there's nothing to purchase. Perhaps it would include an area for our new studios.
I think that would be perfect, and I think that would be good.
Yeah. Plus, I like the area that we're talking about. I think it had kind of that natural feel in that area for this type of a studio, where I think it would probably find some.
What am I telling people to click on? The unencrypted.
Unencrypted right now. Yes.
Yeah. Okay.
Yep. Actually, I think it disappears. No, it doesn't disappear afterwards, but yeah. If they're already watching it, they're either watching it on YouTube or they're watching it on Udicci.TV.
Well, so yeah, I'm actually.
I mean, we could go look and see what it's displaying at this point, but we could go to our opener.
No, I just really wanted to get that out to Twitter. I mean, I've been trying to connect with people in the BSV space. Let's kind of talk about. So what we were just kind of going through is we're going to be exploring more about mining this year. I've joined the Gorilla IO pool, and I don't understand the mining really at all. I think it's important that we understand the mining, and right in this area in Rochester, New York, interestingly enough, is we have some opportunities for mining that's happening right now down in Seneca Falls. There's an old electric factory that was converted into some natural gas. And now what's interesting is what we're looking at is that, particularly green technology. So we're looking in a local nearby town who actually has power that's created, I believe by Niagara Falls is where the majority of it comes through. So hydropower, right, that's very green. And then we can kind of create this highly efficient technology. And that's what we're going to get into talking about BSV in just a moment. But this highly efficient technology that, we want to start talking about solving environmental problems. Well, let's be smart about how we're solving environmental problems.
Right.
Like, we can't be looking at systems like BTC, like the Bitcoin that everybody knows, the BTC piece. That one's quite a bit more expensive for their transactions, and not to mention the efficiencies. I know there's some arguments on the Ethereum side of that, but proof of stake has some security weaknesses associated. And I'm not trying to, I know that everybody has their preferences, and like I say, I know about this much of all of this. So I know I'm not an expert on this. Look, I'm the marketer. That means I create little fictional characters and hope to sell them as NFTs. Not that we should be selling NFTs in that way, but anyways, I think that like something in right, if we could probably pull off a Hope Street.
Yeah,
Right?
yeah.
We could probably find a like an older building or maybe a newer building. I mean, who knows? Maybe we could just put up. Where's that? What's the are they what do they make? They're the they make whiskey. Is it Iron Smoke?
Iron.
Something is out there in Fairport, right? You know what I'm talking about, like something like that. Like, why couldn't we just put up
like an old warehouse? So
or even like, why couldn't we just put up a steel building?
Yeah.
Like, why not just go just start fresh? Like let's go lay a pad, a cement pad, put up decorate the front out, and in the back it's mining.
Right. Yeah,
like
if we did something like that, because actually, if we did something like that, depending on how we could really keep it sort of cheap, because we could actually set it as like a wide open space with just pretty much wide open, and put those little pods inside of it. So there's multiple ways of setting up the mining facilities.
And how about this? They're talking about using the full immersion stuff.
Yeah.
Right? And the immersion mining is something like 40% more effective because they somehow recapture the heat and turn it back into electric
nice.
to run the mines. But then there's other times where they're using that heat to heat the building. Yeah. So like here in New York, like in the wintertime, we could literally heat the building with it, and in the summer we could just turn around and turn it back into generate additional energy. Right? So it's just
you could actually run it probably power a steam almost to a level of steam, I would imagine.
I don't know how they do it, but sure, that's probably exactly right.
Yep.
Like they're basically creating some sort of a steam generator out of all the extra heat. I don't know.
Yeah.
But that could so that's definitely that's one of those things that I don't know that that's like a milestone for us to accomplish this year. That's just one of those things that's on the radar.
It's on the radar. It's definitely something that we're considering because as we continue to grow. And especially with this year where we're at right now, and as with all the things that we have growing in front of us, it does make sense for us to make some of these moves.
I just think that this would be really a fun thing to do in Rochester. I think Rochester is a perfect place to have let's call it like a micro miner. Right,
that's what I want, the micro miner,
or a craft miner. We're a craft miner. Right, we're craft miners because we definitely could work with. We could add a cidery to it.
Yes, yeah.
Right, like we could add a little corner store or just represent like some local brands out front. So something like that. It's more like local brands.
About the Hope Street and how we actually have in conversations. What a lot of people don't know is there's conversations we've had about this thing called Hope Street, and what Hope Street is much more than just like this. A thought process or something. It's actually a thought out brand where we had business development, mentorship, community development. We had all sorts of things planned
in a nutshell, right? In a nutshell, it's a restaurant with media production available and teaching entrepreneurial apprenticeship.
Yes.
Right, and I mean, so it was just our version. Like I said, we had the studio, and then we just kind of thought, okay, we want something more. So I think like if we could do something like this out, out in Fairport, I don't think because I think you have to be a village participant to get the So we have to be out in Fairport, and I think that would just be really. I mean, why not? It's such a cool town.
Yeah,
and what a great place to have something like this.
It's there's so many good things that go on down there all the time. I mean, it's such just a beautiful area, and there's so many people with such big hearts down there. So it's gonna be fun.
Let's we're talking about creating a mining facility. What we're talking about is mining for Bitcoin, and I know a lot of people don't understand it. There's a lot of misinformation out there. There's a lot of disinformation out there. I'm going to say there's a lot of disinformation about particular chains and a lot of misinformation about the overall process and purpose of blockchain. And I'm going to say that I'm not the one to bring like amazing clarity to any of that because there are people who can do a much better job. But the actual mining piece of it, which is kind of, it does fit here in Rochester, New York, with we had Kodak here. Like, we were a very technical town back in the day. And it just kind of would add this kind of piece to it. So the mining, though, what we're looking to do is to join BSV. And we're building our platform right now and getting it ready to be able to deploy some contracts to BSV. We talk about the platform on other times. But one of the reasons that we're choosing BSV is the efficiency. That it truly seems to be the most efficient blockchain available right now. And I know there are people, Polygon is doing some good things. I know that there are some other chains out there. Cardano is definitely right there, always on our radar, in part because we love the community over there.
Yeah.
And, just some really good people connected with Cardano. Some really good thinking and thought processes behind it. Still a UTXO model. So, it's not that we're ever married to one chain, and I don't think we should think about chains as being something that we are married to any more than we, I have an Android and you have an iPhone and we're still able to communicate with one another. That's in a nutshell what may end up becoming the differences of the chains or the brands, because ultimately, in order to compete as a healthy blockchain, you're going to have to be able to deliver on some of the measurable objectives that were set forth sort of early on in the white paper. And look, if somebody can expand on the white paper, it's sort of like, that's fantastic, but you have to at least include what was in the white paper, and that means the ability to do microtransactions quickly and efficiently. And if you can't do that, you've sort of failed the
litmus test.
The litmus. It's funny. As I'm saying this, I think about, and I'm sure I've shared the story with you before, but back, I want to say it was like 7th or 8th grade. And this will be one of those things why I probably really appreciate you because you've stuck through this whole weird thing with me to kind of get it to this point. So the story of the of this Olympics of the Mind, we were given this task, and the task was you had to navigate through a obstacle course, and you had to pick up objects on the floor using 3 different methods to pick it up, something like that. So, I ended up getting on that team, and probably like everybody else, we create, you get excited around the people that you get excited around, and we created this overly complex motion system and how we were going to pick the stuff up. And, well, long story short is the night before we're supposed to go, we didn't finish it as a team. It was horrible. And I went to this guy's house, one of the guys' house, and we tried to work on it till early in the morning. And I was thankful that guy didn't give up and, whatever. And we went there, and it ends up some of the teams showed up with wheelchairs and clamps that you would have from your fireplace and a dustpan. And I was like, you've got to be kidding me. Our design was so much more immaculate. And, but in hindsight, I have to appreciate the simplicity of them actually accomplishing the objective. Whereas our team, we may be sold on the grand idea that we had, but we didn't even end up competing, right? We couldn't even have the coin toss that day. We didn't have a thing to participate in. So to me, when I think about the blockchains, that's what I think about, is that they have to accomplish the objectives set forth. And I know that there's many objectives, right? Some people want absolute security, privacy. I personally don't know that that's an even possibility in a governed world, and as much as a lot of people would like anarchy, and I've heard of the term anarcho-capitalist, and I can sit there and go okay, that's an interesting concept. I don't know that I can get all the way there with you. I think that governance is healthy governance is a part of a healthy society, and absolute privacy, maybe should be reserved for your home, but then there's things that when you're out in the marketplace, maybe you don't get absolute privacy. After all, you walk into the marketplace, and you're going to be seen by people, so you're not absolutely private. So
the
I don't know.
absolute privacy is almost like a figment of our imagination. It
Right.
really, there really is no such thing as absolute privacy, because when you walk outside your door, now you're giving up anything that you had for sake of privacy.
Yeah, and I think that for that reason, like
Yeah.
this idea that says like, while I greatly value privacy, I don't think it's the primary driving force when choosing the technology. And I appreciate that there are like chains like Monero and some others that are working on that privacy issue. And I do think that like the pseudonymous opportunities, like, okay, I get that begins to create a layer of privacy between my identity and my interactions in the marketplace, and that's fine, because in the marketplace we very often take on the role of something that we're not. Like, you know, I might have to be the guy jumping up on the milk box, you know, trying to sell something, and maybe at home I just sit there quietly or something. But anyways, so I think like I like the Monero, the privacy of that piece, but I wouldn't choose a technology for that purpose. And then I have to look at the idea with like BSV, where it is about being able to send a fraction of a penny, right? Like I literally need to be able to send somebody money or value, measurable value as currency. I need to be able to send that for 1/1000th of a penny. And I know that people like, well, what good's 1/1000th of a penny if the coin itself is only worth $120? It's like, well, I think you're mismeasuring there. I think when you're measuring the effectiveness of the technology using the measure of a current broken technological economic system called fiat currency, I think that we have a bit of a breakdown, right? And if I want to compare like why, and this is an interesting, and we'll get into this conversation for a bit. You know, going back to the whole vanity and the whole fashion kind of thing. I think many are sold on BTC because they bought a brand.
Yeah. Well, it's just like buying the Apple brand, but you know, kind of going back inside of your conversation there, one thing that you had said that struck me. Oh man, I just lost my train of thought. So
all right. Well, no, so anyway, so like again, I'm grateful. I don't necessarily know the depths of all the different things that went on with BTC and then BCH or whatnot, but you know, one of the things we're talking about tonight is why we're choosing BSV. Well, BSV because right now they're like banking. Right now they're doing like 3 to 5 million transactions a day.
Yeah,
they're
doing it. Yeah,
they're doing more transactions in a day than I believe all other chains combined right now.
Well, you know, the smart contracts are definitely they are more. I think they're more elaborate than most of the other ones
that are
available.
The op codes open up things that you can't. Not you simply.
So
here's the reality.
This is what I wanted to discuss. Going back to the whole thing of privacy. So go back to privacy, and this ties into the smart contracts. You may not be able to have full privacy, but if you're not able to have full privacy, what you want to do then is make sure that you can protect your data. And smart contracts open up the ability to protect your data in ways that are not available in many other methods. Or
effectively at that point, that's kind of like, you know, the true value is not necessarily what you see here and when I walk into the marketplace. The true value is all of that knowledge, all of that data, all of that information.
Yes.
That like the only way that
it.
you have that right now, because that information truly starts to reveal my true, if you will, value or my true role. Whereas if you only look at the skin and call, I think that's So that's a really good kind of point with that, and I think that where I want to. So I know online right now a lot of people are saying, well, all of this activity going on over at BSV is all spam. Well, okay, we don't necessarily know that. We can't. It conceivably could be, but we get that there would be some patterns that we could look at to begin to identify things as spam, and then we have to also recognize that somebody spending money just for the sake of spam. And I get that that's very, very possible also, because there's a lot of just, BSV and Satoshi sitting around that people could use. So I understand that, and I'm sure that there's some way that we could audit that, but I think that the reasonable conversations that you can see going on online right now, it does not point to the fact that the majority of those transactions are spam. I think the majority of the transactions going on BSV right now through things like crypto fights and I think Twitch is getting some traction over there, and there's there's a few other.
Well, some of the projects that I know that other people were working on, even behind the scenes, that aren't like available to the public or public knowledge yet, but they are starting to build transactions for them. So there, there's a lot of people building more legitimate types of not just games and stuff, but more legitimate business type of solutions on blockchain right now.
This is important, because if we can kind of just take a jump for a second from, let's say, fiat market valuation to utility valuation of blockchain, I guess I'd say it's something like that, is so many people want to see that BSV price, like they want go to 10,000, go to 5,000, go to 8,000, go to 150, right? They want to see this fiat market measure increase, because their minds value things according, and it is a market value, but the measure is fiat from a broken system. And truly what you're going to need to have is either a lesser cost coin in order to keep those transactions viable. But what you really want in economy is not purchases that you buy and hold on to forever and hope that they go up in value. You want transactions, because 10 million transactions that net you a penny are better than right, like
take the whole penny, the penny double every day,
right?
And how quickly you get to 1 million. It's mind-boggling how fast that will continuously grow, and if that's not enough, if you actually were to take a penny double it daily, it really is. You can figure all of that out, but the other, from that. If that's not good enough proof for you, go out and look at social media. Look at how fast somebody blows up. Look how how quickly somebody can go from 1,000 subscribers to 1 million subscribers, and how fast the video can go from 1,000 views to 1 million views. That's that whole thing of that social, where the world we live in today.
And for those who don't necessarily get as deep into the conversation that we're talking about, like why you would choose a blockchain, let's use Tim's example to kind of help maybe bring some understanding to that. Right now, right, you would have 10,000 views or 10 million views, likes, dislikes, and comments, right? Every like and dislike actually has a cost associated with it. We wouldn't think so, right? But it literally took the cost of clicking and sending that little bit of information over the internet to a server that updated a database, right? All of that's electric. All of that has software that has been designed, right? So there's amortized value, if you will, that has to be, or amortized price, let's say, that has to go into that.
Computers that host it in the
right,
back end.
Computer, right. So there is an actual cost to that to that view. And, we know that when we think about it. And then we already know that, like, it's Google and YouTube that is making far more money than the producer of the content.
Right.
And it's the producer of the content that should get a say in how distribution occurs. And this is an interesting piece that I think Craig Wright has brought up. And let's touch on the Craig Wright thing for just a moment. I want to say I don't care about the Craig Wright thing, but that's not true. I have to care. I do care about the character of the person sort of running the show. Mm-hmm. And I think that there's fair evidence and fair reason to assume that, yeah, maybe the guy's a scammer. right? Fine, fair enough. But honestly, I don't care about that. And why I don't care about that is because I never cared about Bill Gates when I was using Windows, right? Like, I only began to hear about Steve Jobs, like, because he was a little bit more quirky and eccentric, right? And, like, I don't necessarily care about Elon Musk if I consider buying a Tesla. Like,
right.
I guess
or
I
Jeff
do.
Bezos.
Right, like I
going
don't.
into
Right,
space.
right.
You know,
Like,
I think it's cool that they're going into space and doing things like that. But then when I see Elon Musk putting like chips in people in 6 months.
right. Like, I'm like,
come
what do
on,
I do with that, right?
Yeah,
Like,
why do you have to put chips in people? But, you know, there's, you know, I understand some people may believe in this, but I think that there's something to be said for, you know, biblical warnings. But
yeah,
anyways,
right. Like,
not
exactly.
here to
Like,
talk about that.
look, there's right, exactly.
Yeah.
Like, look, there's
Anyways.
biblical truths and then there's reality in life,
Yes.
right? And it's kind of the way of looking at that. And tonight I actually heard about another guy. He's like some like massive genius who just like is working on nanotechnology for biology that can kind of like, I don't know, broadcast information about your cells, something like that. Like, okay, fine. Like people say, yeah, this guy is a mad scientist. Like, well, okay, he may be.
Are you talking about Don't Look Up? Have you seen that movie? That's actually hilarious.
I have seen that movie, but I don't recall that piece of it.
No, the guy that talks really funny. What you're talking about, it's like kind of reminded me of him.
Yeah, it's right. So it's kind of this thing that says like, man, there are some mad scientists in the world.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Right? And there are some mad computer scientists in the world.
Look at CERN.
Right.
Why are you going to play with this stuff?
Right. So I have to, when making the technology choice, kind of go like, all right. If this guy's a scammer, I then need to know, like, how do I protect myself? Well, one of the things that Craig Wright talks about is that no blockchain is immune or free from governance of state. And that's true, right? Because people live under laws, and we don't get to make the laws.
Right.
But one of the things that he points out, and I think this is important to understanding some of the great cultural value and value for humanity in reigning in government and making economies more effective, he brings into the point that when you have the producer of an asset or the video that you're watching able to make the rules around that asset, around how it will be shared, right? You actually at that point reduce the need for government intervention in personal economy, right? And you also begin to reduce fraud, because fraud and theft end up having less value because you can prove ownership far better than you ever could in the past.
Sure.
Right?
Sure.
I actually have digital proof of ownership, physical proof of ownership, and now I've wrapped property rights management around that whole thing, and now I get to act with far greater individual agency within my community and within my economy, so I ultimately require less governance. And it is a healthier governance because it is far more personal economy. So it's interesting. It's interesting stuff, and so that's kind of stuff like when you hear a Craig Wright talk about it, like like he's not wrong.
Yeah. No.
And the software and the actual BSV blockchain is looking really strong.
Yeah, absolutely.
Right.
I'm meeting with Xiaowei again tomorrow, and that's going to be fantastic because he's interviewed Craig on a lot of the stuff for the technology that he created, as well as understanding like SPV and some of the other technologies that are built into it. And some of the stuff that they're building into it right now, I can definitely appreciate, and I understand where they're going. But one of the things, and my mind just twisted because I wanted to bring you back something we were talking about earlier, and I know we're kind of coming up. We got about 10 minutes left, and I want to see you had mentioned earlier about some concerns about tall, and I just wanted to, and that so
So let me I'll just address that because I don't think it's a concern as much as it's less decentralization. Let's say it's less distributed technology than you would like to have,
right.
and that's why like a guerrilla pool and actually setting up like craft miners. Like,
okay, so let's take a step back from there and explain like what tall is, why there that concern is, or that
I think basically because they have the majority processing power right now.
Right, so
and they have the greatest. They're creating the most hash volume.
Right, so everybody that does this, that's what they
It's great hash, man. It's great hash. Great hash volume. We just turned it out up here in the sticks in New York.
Tall, yeah, exactly. So tall, just to kind of bring it a little bit more higher level for the audience. Yes, we do have a technical level of understanding within this realm, but to bring it more high level, Tall is a company that is actually they have the mining facilities that drive the majority of the transactions on the BSV network.
Right, as I understand it.
Yes,
and that's one of the problems that has to be solved. And our goal is to help to participate in the solution of that problem, right? And the good thing is it's not a big problem in that it's like Tall is just basically right now, for those who are just kind of joining that conversation, it's just, they're just a big cloud host server. That's all they are, right? And we just want more host server or cloud host servers. And that's all, Miner effectively is a host server. So it's not a concern. It's just like you want to be creating that better foundation for the future. And we're starting from a very strong foundation, apparently.
And what we want to see is more of like these small farms kind of popping up and producing the mining facilities and being able to participate in some of the mining capabilities.
Yeah.
And and they're not going to be huge farms, but to have that distributed that processing power distributed in such a way, on such a solid foundation of a technology, that's where the strength really could come together. Having it all run by like one company would be like saying that Microsoft in Azure would be the only cloud solution, whereas you have Amazon S3 and Everleap and thousands and thousands of other opportunities or other cloud providers out there. So it's the same type of thought process, and you have big and small. You have the Microsofts and the Amazons of the world, but you also have I hosted one. I think you might have hosted one at one point, and there are many little small hosting facilities still dotted all over the country.
Yeah. So on that, what we should okay. So we're gonna take a quick break. We're gonna finish up our episodes. But so tonight, our goal here was to really kind of shape what we wanted 2022 to look like. I've written down a couple objectives and kind of where we're going with this. So before we go to break, I'm just going to read these, and we're going to come back and kind of wrap up where we see like 2022 coming together, what all of that conversation just sort of meant. So here's what I have so far for 2022 objectives, and I'm going to actually have you finish the sentence. All right? One of them is to connect with the BSV community and those in the marketplace who. I want you to fill in the blank for who when we get back. All right? And what I've written throughout the night for what Thursday Night Social is, so we can begin to kind of better speak to it. It's a stage when needed, but not necessarily a performance. A space for meaningful dialogue and randomness. It's improv yourself through chat and have the audience vote you on stage. We'll clean that up a little bit, but that was that idea, right? Yep. And then we're walking away with some tall orders from tonight's thing, right? Because, again, the whole thing is a league of your own, right? So it's some tall orders. And we already did set a goal of becoming a top 10 transaction producer on BSV in 2022. But I think now what we're hearing is help mining, help grow mining to consistently dot dot dot. We got to clear up that state there. But what I'm basically saying there is, let's like actually try to contribute to the growth of healthy mining within BSV community, in the BSV community.
No, I'm with you.
Right?
Yep.
Because now I will say, over the past couple days, some new hash power, let's say the hash power has been redirected away from apparently BTC and BCH. I'm not sure how that works specifically, so I might be using some wrong terminology. But it's been focused more toward BSV, and mining on BSV has been something like 10% more profitable than the other whatever. So, anyways, we're gonna just take a quick break, come back. Tim's gonna wrap this whole thing up, have the notes, and we'll go from there.
Here we go. It's gonna be fun. All right.
All right, so we took a longer break than we wanted. And maybe we're just going to carry this into the second half of Thursday Night Social, which we call Ceox, and we'll kind of get into what that is. But so where we are right now is we're trying to really answer this next target audience or this next group of people that we really want to come along in the journey. But it is to connect with the BSV community and those in the marketplace who, and I think what we're going to say is, who want to be in a league above. Or the next
Well, it's gonna be the early adopter businesses.
We'll play with that. So we're gonna take this conversation and we're going to weave it in to the next episode and probably expand on what we want Thursday Night Social to be a little bit more. But we'll be right back in about 3 minutes with Ceox. And during Ceox, we're going to shift the focus a little bit more to effectively business modeling, and share some game ideas, and we're going to talk through that, and hopefully we'll see if we get a guest coming in. I don't know. Do we have her?
I'll check in a minute. So we'll see you in a minute. Stay tuned. Click on Ceox if you're on Udicci.TV. Go look for Ceox. We'll be going live.
Okay.